Hello everyone, this is BigManBakar. Welcome to RotoWire's latest Gameweek 22 stream before the deadline. I'm here to answer your questions. If you have any questions before the deadline, make sure to hit them up right away. I'll make sure to respond to them. I'll be here for the next half an hour. It feels like quite a pivotal week actually, where there's so many decisions to be made. Yet at the same time, it feels as if we don't exactly have a lot of information to make them. So it's actually quite tricky to navigate. Like I am sitting here with 5 free transfers, and even I had, quite a tricky time deciding my own transfers. I gave it a lot of thought. I moved last night actually. That's a bit of a disclaimer. I'll share my moves later on in the show, but this show is all about you. It's not about me. So if you have any questions before the deadline, make sure to send them up right away. We have our first question from Keaton. Hincapie to Saliba instead of Timber to Saliba. Um, I assume you own both Hincapie and Timber, and you're looking to sell one of them. Now, currently, we don't have any information on when Hincapie is expected to be back. Now, Arteta did sort of mention in the press conference that there's a chance that some of the injured players might be back, but apparently, according to reports, that's Mosquera who's supposed to be back. But yeah, you corrected yourself. You mentioned that you're talking about Gabriel. I mean, Gabriel, if you're buying Gabriel, I think I would buy him for Hincapie because Hincapie is injured. And I would definitely prefer Gabriel over Timber if picking one. In fact, I think Gabriel is actually the best defender in the game to own. Simply because of the fact that he plays with the best defense in the league. He has immense goal threat, and he's good for defcons and bonus potential. So he has it all. It's like too many routes to points, basically. I was quite torn on him as well because I actually own Raya, Saka, and Timber. And realistically, I don't have a route to Gabriel. But now the fact that, Arsenal have so many injuries in the left back area where Hincapie is a doubt, where Skelly is out of favor. And now that Ben White is playing on the right, as we saw in the EFL Cup, and Timber's playing on the left, Timber's attacking threat isn't all that great either. So I feel as if Gabriel is much the better option at this point in time. Another thing to note is that there's a good chance that Arsenal could double along with Wolves in Game Week 26, which would then obviously mean that you need a defender who's starting both games, which again would be Gabriel. So yeah, I think I would get Gabriel in your position. Next question is from Life PRN. I have Keane, Gehi, and Dorgu in my defense with only one free transfers. There's no dodging a hit, is it? I mean, you can bench two of them and just use the one free transfer to get someone. And I assume if cash is an issue, if funds are an issue, I think I would just probably get someone cheap like Mukiele. That's also doable. Next question is start one Dorgu, O'Reilly, or Lewis Dunk. I think I would go with O'Reilly probably. Lewis Dunk has an okay fixture as well. I do expect Brighton to concede. So it has to be O'Reilly or Dunk. I don't even think that Dorgu will start. I'm not sure whether he does under the new manager. I'm not sure whether he will be preferred. And the fixture isn't good enough anyway. So I think I would go with one of O'Reilly or Dunk. Dunk can get defcon, so there's that. But just the fact that O'Reilly has a bit of attacking threat would make me lean towards him. Asad is asking best midfielder under 6 million. Already have Tavernier. That goes to show that you know what I was going to say. As soon as I read best midfielder under 6 million, I was going to say Tavernier. You mentioned that you already own him. Tavernier is fantastic. I mean, I'll talk about him a bit later in the show, but he's great. I think if you already own Tavernier, I would probably go for Anderson. I think Enzo would have been an option had the budget been higher, but Elliot Anderson is a boring pick. I mean, he doesn't exactly haul a lot of the times. He's on set pieces, so can get the occasional assist, but he regularly hits defcons. He's like comfortably top for defcons this season, so I would probably go him. Next question is Bowen or Welbeck. Neither. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of either, to be honest, because the fixtures aren't great. And Welbeck is a bit of a minutes worry as well. I just can't trust Hosler with his minutes, especially when he's been managing an injury. Bowen could be probably better if you're asking one to play. I think I would probably play Bowen. Bowen could be on Benz because Paqueta is a doubt. There's a good chance that Bowen takes Benz this week. Next question is, why are you considering Tavernier for over Enzo for your own team? Yeah, good question. So I'll come to my own team now. So I've made two transfers already. I've sold Cunha to Tavernier, and I've sold Timber to Gabriel. Reasoning is I just think Tavernier at 5.5 million is an absolute steal. I expect him to be on pens. I expect him to be on set pieces. Clivert is gone. Sorry, Clivert is injured. Semenya is gone. So that just adds to his appeal, really. And at 5.5 million, he's as cheap an option as he can get. I think if he was 6.5 million, I would still have bought him, let alone at 5.5. So I feel as if he's a bit of a game breaker at this stage, which is why I have him. And I did timber to Gabriel because I just think Gabriel is the much better pick, especially if the double is to materialize. And I had free transfers, so I thought that I do have some sort of flexibility to make that decision. Asad is asking start on Hekke or Mukiele. I would go with Mukiele. Better clean sheet odds, better chance of DEFCONs. Next question is Paqueta and Key to Wilson and Cash. I don't think I would buy Wilson at this point at his price. I think if you're buying someone at his price, I would probably just buy Enzo. Next question is Brighton or Brentford defense. I owned Alderate. I assume this is to play this week, right? I assume you own, let's say, Verbruggen, Kelleher, and you're asking who to start. If that's the question, I think the Brighton defense has a better fixture this week. If you're thinking of buying, I would probably lean towards the Brentford defense because longer term, their fixtures are slightly better than Brighton. Thank you for the comment to Life PRN, who's thanking me. Next question is, do you think Semenya will start? I think he will start, yes, because there's a good chance that he starts both the next two league games, actually, because he will not be eligible for the Champions League, which means that obviously his X-Men's should go high in the league. And he started quite well in the Cup game, so there's no reason to think that he won't start. Next question is from Adam. Hey, big man, do you think Saka will play? In my point of view, he will be benched. I mean, Saka is a headache which I was not willing to take, especially at a time when, there are doubts over Palmer's minutes. His fitness is sort of all over the place. Then Bruno Fernandes is playing City and Arsenal in the next 2 weeks. Again, not amazing fixtures. So I would love to keep Saka, especially now considering that Arsenal could have a double. Saka is just an easy hold. I don't want to be, thinking about his minutes too often. But I do think that there is some sort of risk this week. He should start, in my opinion. But Arteta has done some funny things this season, so you never know. Next question is, will Mark Guehi play start in Man City or Palace in 22? No, he's not in the squad for Palace, so he's completely going to miss out this week. Guehi's not playing. Next question is, any strong alternative captain over Haaland this week? This is a good question, and if you look at the bookmaker odds, you will see that Liverpool are actually projected to score the most goals this week, not Man City, which obviously makes you feel as if maybe going for a Liverpool option is fine. But I think Haaland is more central to Liverpool, to City's attack, and Liverpool tend to spread the goals around. So there's Wirtz, there's Szoboszlai, there's Gakpo, there's Ekitike. And I think if Ekitike would have been fully fit, and if I knew that he was going to play 90 minutes, I think Ekitike could have rivaled Haaland, but I just don't think it's worth the risk currently. Next question is, Enzo doubles Tavernier data, has better fixtures, might have time without Palmer on field for pens, and Bournemouth attack might dampen a bit without Semenyo. Tavernier looks good from 24 onwards. I think this is an excellent counter argument. Enzo is a fantastic pick. I would just like to mention that I feel as if there is no scenario in which Tavernier is not a potential transfer in for me in the coming weeks. I'm speaking strictly about my team. For example, if I don't buy him this week or in the next week, I think in 24 I would inevitably buy, like you say. But with Enzo, I would like to read a bit more and see a bit more about how the new manager lines up, what Enzo's role is, what his minutes are like before investing him, because Enzo will or could be a potential transfer in 24, but that's not set in stone. So that's why I've given myself the luxury of having those extra 2 weeks, especially considering the fact that Tavernier is also like $1 million more cheaper than Enzo. I think that's quite significant. And you mentioned that Enzo could be on penalties if Palmer is not playing. That's something that's still sort of up in the air. Tavernier should and almost certainly will be on penalties. So That's how I feel about it. Asad is saying Wilson over Enzo, so I can afford Foden to Bruno in one move. I think Foden to Bruno will happen in 24, but that's still like some time away. So I'm not sure you should be thinking as much about that as of now. Sky MEFC is saying Enzo could be a troll again. I got him in earlier this season for a spell of 4 to 5 game weeks, and he was quite a troll for large parts. He did not score any points, but then in the game against Burnley, if I remember correctly, he gave it 11 points. So that was a nice parting gift before I let him go. Any further questions, guys? Please let me know. I'm still here for the next 15 or so minutes. I will try and answer as many possible questions as I can. I would like to touch a bit on Cunha replacements because that is obviously a point of discussion this week, which a lot of people are considering and weighing up. And I definitely feel as if that Cunha is a sell for a lot of teams, mainly because at 8.1, 8.2 million, I just don't think he justifies that price, especially because he's not going to win penalties with Bruno Fernandes back. The next two fixtures are City and Arsenal. And thirdly, I feel as if Fernandes will play in the 10. Sesko could play as a striker. That leaves two slots for the left and right of the wing. And while I do think that Cunha is first choice, I think there's a genuine risk of early subs, especially with Mbomo and Ahmad back. And obviously, we haven't seen the new manager. So I think that Cunha is quite expendable at that price, especially when the likes of Tavernier and Enzo are right there. Ivan is asking, I have 2 free transfers and I have Cunha, Potts, and Keane. Thinking about Cunha to Enzo and Keane to Anderson to bench Potts, but not sure if there's upside in getting an Anderson now versus rolling of the 2 free transfers. This is honestly tough to say without looking at your team. If I could sort of get a glimpse of how your team is like, I could then potentially recommend what to do. But Cunha to Enzo is fine. I think I would get Enzo if you already own Tavernier, but Tavernier would be my first choice. And Keane to Anderson is also okay. I would also like to mention here that why I also like Cunha to Tavernier for a lot of teams now. I sort of tend to look at a lot of teams every week on social media, and also there's some teams that I'm consulting privately. And I think a very good transfer that I like for a lot of teams this week is Cunha to Tavernier, and then they use that additional cash to get Gabriel, because if you're a Gabriel lawn owner, I think you have to get plans to bring him in this week or the week after. But I think he has to really come in this week, simply put, because the fixtures for Arsenal are really nice. He's already shown himself to be a good goal threat. He's good for defcons, bonus potential, etc. So there's very little chance that he does not end up being a good pick, especially with the double thrown in. So getting those funds from Cunha to Tavernier also opens up the funds to, let's say, jump from someone like a Keane to Gabriel. And I like that transfer a lot for people who don't have Gabriel and for people who own Cunha. Someone has sent me their team. I don't know how many free transfers are in the bank you have, so it's tough to say. Next question is Life PRN, who's saying, having made the dreaded Thiago to Ekitike move a few weeks ago, I need to milk the next free game week to max with Ekitike captaincy. That's an interesting way of putting it. Now, the dreaded move that you mentioned has cost a lot of people close to like 29 points, if I'm not mistaken. And because people had 5 free transfers in Game Week 16, a lot of people made that transfer. I'm sure, like if there's like, let's say 150 people watching the stream, they're like close to half people would have done that move. So you're not the only one. It was quite a popular move. But at the same time, I don't think that that decision should be linked in any way with the decision to captain Ekitike this week, because obviously those two decisions are mutually exclusive. And what if Ekitike, as I mentioned, was an option for 90 minutes, I would have probably considered him as a potential captaincy option. But when Haaland is around and United are looking bad, it becomes very difficult to justify. So don't make, let's say, one poor decision lead to another. That's probably how I would put it. Next question is from Echo on Tube. I am on wildcard 22, high TB of 107.4. I am on Timber, Gap, Timber, Cash, Anderson, Munoz, Bruno, Rice, Rogers, Enzo, Palmer, mid. Haaland, Thiago, DCL. Thoughts on Semenyo for Palmer for 2 game weeks? Palmer, Tavernier, 24. Yeah, I think if I was wildcarding this week, I don't think I would pick Palmer. I think I would probably get another mid and then look to maybe get Palmer in 24 if the minutes are there, which I doubt there will be, because currently I'm rolling with the information that, or with the assumption that Palmer will not be an option to bring in Game Week 24. I think I would probably pick Allison in goal. If I was in your position, I would go Gab, Timber for sure. I would probably go Anderson as well. That's fine. I think I would have Saka over Rice for sure. I think I would want Saka in as a placeholder for either Palmer or as a placeholder for a potential Game Week 26 captain, which there's a good chance that Saka might end up being the optimal captain. So I'd have him. I probably won't have DCL. I think Haaland, Thiago are enough. I would probably go with Krupi Jr. or Mane as the third mid as well. Next question is from Stereo Kukuwan. I have a weak bench, Dorgo, Keane, KDH. I have a strong 11. Is it worth the risk to roll with that? No bench 22, 23 to be flex on 24. No good options to upgrade now. Yes, I think if you're confident that you have a strong 11, then your team should be fine this week. I don't think there is too big of a risk of, let's say, bench appearances or no shows this week. So the two that sort of stand out to me, which could potentially, let's say, be benched this week, are maybe Saka and Foden. And even then, let's say we roll with the assumption that they're benched, I don't see a world where they don't come on. So I think you're probably fine keeping what you have. And by the way, I do think that Saka and Foden start personally. Next question is, I got a bit late. I'm sorry if you've discussed it. Enzo versus Rogers versus Bruno Guimaraes as Cunha replacement. Yes, we touched upon this briefly earlier. I think if you're looking for a Cunha replacement, I would go Tavernier first in that order. Second, Enzo. Bruno Guimaraes, I would not consider any Newcastle players at all, because their fixtures are now sort of running to a conclusion. Their good fixtures are now ending after this week. So I don't think I would consider Bruno Guimaraes. And I think Rogers is okay, but at that price, he's not worth it, in my opinion, when Tavernier and Enzo are significantly cheaper and might be on penalties. So Rogers will probably take along, but he's not someone I really like because of his price. I think he's okay, but he's not exactly someone I would consider. Ivan is saying my defense is Gabriel, Keane, VVD, Dorgo, and Goodmanson. I can just move Cunha out for Enzo, Tavernier and roll the other FT and play Goodmanson and Potts, or use 2 FT to replace Keane and bench Potts. I think now, I don't know who your goalkeeper is, but if you don't have a second Arsenal defender or Raya, I think I would be very tempted to do Cunha to Tavernier and Keane to Timber. I think that's a good move. Any further questions, guys? I will be here for another 10 minutes. You mentioned that you already have Raya. Okay, that makes things trickier. In which case, maybe something like Keane to Mukiele could work. But if you can afford to bench Keane this week, then you don't have to make that transfer either. But if you need like an 11th player this week in the starting 11, then I think Mukiele for cheaper is quite nice. Any further questions? I mentioned about Cunha and his replacements and why he's a sell. I would like to touch a bit on Chelsea assets. I think Palmer is a firm wait and see. And if I'm sort of deciding right now, I don't think he will be a realistic option. Enzo, I think I would buy if you already own Tavernier and if you own Cunha. Otherwise, I would probably wait on Enzo as well. I would also now like to mention why Game Week 24 is turning out to be quite a pivotal point in the season, in my opinion. Now, Game Week 24 is 2 weeks away, and I do think it's like a week which is similar to the next 2 weeks are similar to calm before storm, and by the storm I refer to Game Week 24. And I do feel that our teams are building towards a bit of a crescendo where we will want to make a lot of transfers in Game Week 24, because that's a week where we're likely to have a double game week clarity. Obviously, Bruno will be done with the City and Arsenal fixtures as well, and the fact then that Foden will also have had Wolves in 23, so might be a potential sell for Fernandes in 24. So having enough transfers to make those decisions will be quite critical. I feel. I've been talking quite a bit about Taverner and Enzo. I also would like to mention here that while we're discussing Cunha replacements, I think if you can get to Fernandez in one move, he's the best option. Simply because he has too many routes to points. I know the next two fixtures aren't nice, but the guy is top for XGI in midfielders this season, and set pieces, penalties, defcons. He has just way too many routes to points. So I think he's fine to bring in if you have one free transfer. I think that's probably what I would have done with my team as well. Had I been able to afford Fernandez in one move. I've also spoken at length about Gabriel and why I feel as if Arsenal defenders should be a bit of a priority. Foden again is a bit of a tough one. I think he should start this week, but there's a genuine chance that he might become a sell after the Wolves fixture. So he's one I would reassess after 23. Similarly with Szoboszlai, good fixture this week against Burnley, but after this week, worth reassessing as well. There are quite a few still with Minte, and I would like to say that if you have Minte, I think Taverner probably stands out as the best replacement in a similar price bracket. Also, another thing before I forget was about the discussion about a potential wildcard. Now, a lot of people are considering wildcarding this week, and I personally don't feel as if it's worth going in that early, because usually the bigger gains come from blanks and doubles later in the season. So if you use it right now, that then leaves you quite susceptible to rank drops later in the season if you don't end up with close to an optimal team before the blanks and doubles, when in all likelihood your rivals will probably have their chips in hand. I've touched about captaincy very briefly again. I think Haaland is the best choice. I feel as if Virgil and Ekitike are good to keep as well. Okay, coming to some further questions. Raptor is saying bench 2 of Cunha, Minte, Lafay, Rodon, Krupi. I think I would bench Krupi and Minte probably, because I'm not sure whether they start. Steer saying Palmer started 7 PL games and seems to have clearly been rested for EFL with an excuse. I won't discard him just yet. You might be right, but the good fixtures that Chelsea have doing 24 and 27 are arriving in a congested period, which again makes me wonder if he might miss one of those good fixtures. JD8760 is asking, would you recommend Cunha plus O'Reilly to Turkey and Gabriel? I don't think I would buy Turkey at this point in time. He's quite a big minutes risk with Semenyo in the team. I don't think I would buy Turkey for sure. Price aside, is Mukiele a better pick than Alderete? Yes, I think so, because Mukiele is actually much better for defcons, and he's actually the most nailed defender in the Sunderland team. So if you look at the defcons as well, he's doing well. I think he's slightly more attacking threat as well. So if you can pick one, I think I would go with Mukiele. I actually have Mukiele in my team myself. Stereo is asking, fair point, but also those 7 starts came on the most congested period, right? You mentioned 7 PL games, but there have been a lot of games in and around which he's missed. Now, you could argue that he's being saved specifically for the PL, but I would like to get some sort of evidence. And obviously, that was under a different manager. Now, a new manager might treat him differently. So I think this is all sort of hyperbole until we get some sort of evidence, which is what I'm looking for in the next 2 weeks. Obviously, if he ends up, let's say, hauling in one of these next 2 fixtures, the lure or the charm of bringing Palmer in would be quite high. JD saying, if not Turkey under 7 million, which man would you suggest, big man? I've already mentioned Tavernier a lot of times. I think a lot of people might get annoyed if I mention him any more. JD is asking when to sell Thiago. I think Thiago is a keep for at least the next 2 fixtures. If I'm being honest, I think I'm probably just going to keep Thiago for a while, really, because there are not too many forwards who appeal, and he's the cheapest of a lot of the other alternatives. Let's say if you look at Ekitike or Watkins, I think Thiago's much cheaper, and he's as good, if not better. So I don't really see a reason to swap him. If there was an obvious sort of alternative, I would have considered it, but I don't think there is. Raptor saying move for Enzo this week or wait for another 2 weeks. It depends on your team. I think if you own Cunha and Tavernier, I would do it. Otherwise, I would wait. Last 3 minutes, guys. If you have any further questions, make sure to send them in straight away. I would also remind you very politely to like the stream, to like the video and comment down below if you get the time. And please subscribe to the channel. That really helps us grow. We've been doing these streams for the first time this season, and any help and support, especially because the channel is new, would be massively appreciated. So if you have like 5 seconds on your hands, please do that to show our support. Gehi is a hold or sell. I would sell Gehi. I don't know whether um, he starts, even if he moves to City. I mean, I would expect him to start eventually, but I'm not sure whether he starts straight away. Steve was saying if farmers are an option, does Ekitike become a better long-term hold? Potentially, yeah, why not? I mean, that's quite a decent possibility. Next question is, hey, Bakar, continue the great work you did. However, 2 weeks ago, I sent you many messages. The site is not working. Also, comments on Ask, but never respond. Please respect your followers. I am genuinely sorry if I did not respond. I must have missed your message. Which site are you referring to which was not working? I would love to know. Ivan is saying, will you be doing weekly Q&As in the channel? Yes, that is the plan for this season. And if you guys show enough support and love, we will continue doing this in the next season as well. Last 2 minutes, guys. Please send in your questions while I'm here. No one else have any questions left? I assume we're done. Last call, guys. If you have any questions, make sure to send them over. Another 30 seconds still left. Okay, it looks as if we're done for the day. There are no further questions. So thank you very much for joining the stream. Once again, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and keep following my content. That means the world to me, especially as a full-time content creator. And best of luck for the game week. I hope you guys come back next week to a big green arrow. Bye-bye.